Renewable energy, of course, beyond energy efficiency, and most of tonight's discussion was the renewables, the wind, the algae, the solar, and that's all some of the most, that's certainly the really exciting stuff. Now, I mentioned carbon capture and storage, and Shar touched on this because algae's role in carbon capture and storage from CO2, which is the byproduct of the coal. Yes, there is this thing called clean coal, and yes, that's frustrating, particularly to the environmentalists, but from an economic point of view, I'm convinced that clean coal is a reality because 70% of the electricity in the world today is generated by coal. That's a huge number. And right now, China is far and away the global leader in this carbon capture system deployment. Duke Energy, big North Carolina company, they just formed a multi-billion-dollar partnership with China to take the carbon capture system deployed technology in China and apply it to their upgrades or retrofits or whatever you're going to call it. And so one of the risks we have as a nation is in the last manufacturing wave that produced China who it is today, it tended to be that the intellectual property was created here in the United States and they were our outsourced manufacturer. There was some disdain in China for centuries about intellectual property, no respect for it. In fact, pirating software and music, I know being in the software business, it was a terrible concern, terrible issue. And one of the things Microsoft did, and I remember Steve Ballmer explaining this in a meeting I was at, because I did work at Microsoft as well, that he said, for every 1% of China that legally uses our software, it produces $500 million net cash, after tax, net cash to the bottom line. And they were right then at about 6%, I think it's now at 19%, and it's growing all the time. There's pride now in intellectual property creation and patent awards and so forth. But that's a problem, right? Because now suddenly we have a very formidable competitor in China. China has more kids getting 1,600 SAT math verbal than we have kids in high school. Okay. Say that again. China has more kids getting a perfect score of math verbal in the SATs than we have kids in high school. And that's going to keep going for a long time. And you throw India into that mix, which is, China's how many times bigger than us? They're 7 times bigger than us. I think India's 5 times bigger than us. We're 305 million people. So, that just tells you a little bit of some of the competitive pressure we're going to face. There is this DOE Future Gen plan I read about. It's coal-based, but mission-free is the objective. I don't think you get a mission-free, but I think you get a dramatic reduction. In fact, in some of the, one of the investments that Kleiner Perkins has is a company called Calera, C-A-L-E-R-A, and it's a cement-like substance, binding substance, that would be a competitor to the Portland cement, most typically known around the world, which has been about 150 years, the same recipe. And this is essentially a new recipe, and it's carbon neutral. There's no CO2 production into the atmosphere whatsoever, and it's very compelling. And one of the things I'm talking to them about, along with Kevin, so we have a three-way conversation right now, Kleiner and me and Deutsche, is Calera's looking for an East Coast plant to be their first presence on the Eastern Seaboard. They have a small plant now out in Silicon Valley, and they're looking to do another plant. And the next one they're going to do is on the East Coast, Eastern Seaboard of the United States, because they want a place for the port, so it can then move this product to most of the country. And then finally, I found it really neat that there's these, China's doing these partnerships with United States companies, and GE, of course, wind, those massive, we saw the wind turbines, and we also know that they're the leading producer of the solar, the batteries, the fuel cells, the next-gen batteries for all these cars and stuff. And they're also So they're a massive producer now. They're the lead manufacturer of all those, and they also own intellectual property. But our companies forming those partnerships with them, I think, are very good because it shows, it legitimizes this, despite what you see right now in a Congress that's taking us maybe backwards right now in the short term, as the group of Republicans are in there sort of wanting to shut down the EPA, for example. But that's not going to win. I mean, you know, intellect will win out in the end there, and the economic force of the strategic nature of this whole thing is well beyond Congress saying no. You know, we don't want the EPA to control any kind of output from our factories. Next steps that we are going to focus on. The Cleantech Innovation Center was, that idea was born actually at Lisa's house, you know, well over a year ago, and we made a submission, and we were a finalist, and they changed, and it was okay. It's okay what happened with the government. They were using TARP money here in North Carolina for that Green Business Innovation Fund. We were a finalist, but then they changed the rules saying that it couldn't be a group doing what they originally stuck out to do. It went exclusively to companies that were producing legitimate products that were being deployed, because then they could rationalize the spend, if you will. And that's okay, but the idea has merit. We've actually, Randall Johnson, who runs the southeastern office for the North Carolina Biotech Center, is a couple blocks up the street. He wanted to be here tonight, but he's speaking at another event. Most promising is his interest in taking that thing and bringing it to life, funded under the banner of the North Carolina Biotech Center, which we would be delighted by. And even the notion of the Cleantech Innovation Centers, to me, is much a virtual center is as important to me as a physical place. You know, when the LEED certified convention center opened, we had the idea that would bring viability and interest to the convention center. They would put almost a small, I mean, this big, you know, presence where you said, oh, we have a LEED certified convention center, and by the way, we have the Cleantech Innovation Center, and we have GE, Eco Imagination, or what does that with Imagination, and they're located here. Now they have their issues with what's going on in Japan and the nuclear stuff, because nuclear is certainly a part of this formula, and that's another debate, right? Is nuclear part of Cleantech or not? But obviously they've taken a really rough punch after a lot of progress being made. But we want to align with these companies like Duke Energy and GE and some of the smaller promising upstarts that some we heard tonight, and get the global investors involved. So, see, the global investors, Kleiner has that outreach capability. Deutsche Bank certainly has that outreach capability. That's why talking to them now and positioning us from an image point of view as a clean tech center of energy and excitement and potential. And I really do think that the likes of CFCC is going to be one of those things that pushes it over with one of these guys to feel like, okay, this makes sense for us to do. And all the old school stuff that matters in the old, 20th century industrial thing is still going to be important. Having a port that can ship high quality manufactured goods made in the United States, but they're competitive in a global competitive market. That's a very appealing formula, and that's what the Council on Jobs and Competitiveness emphasizes in terms of how to restore legitimacy into United States manufacturing. It's to target high-value manufacturing that's competitive in the global marketplace. Since 95% of the addressable market now is outside the United States. I mean, that's just a fact. All these emerging economies around the world, that's really important to know. What products are you making? That's where and I think that's a cool opportunity for everybody. But if we don't have manufacturing, we're missing out on an important part of the equation of being a competitive economy. And I think we would take manufacturing and of course corporate and operation and R&D. This state is, Site Selection Magazine, 9 of the last 10 years, North Carolina, the best state in the United States, business environment. the ports, the seaports, the rail, the tax policy, the receptiveness to industry is all very good. And with that triangle brand, we have legitimacy on a global basis with as being thought of as a thought leader and an innovation center. That's really cool. So from here, we think taking action, telling stories, that's been our mantra for a long time in terms of how we get things done. The website that this organization has stood up, website that has featured so many entrepreneurs at the UNCW Entrepreneurship Center, and the multimedia quality of a lot of the content there is very exciting. That has helped us a lot. I can tell you, when I talk to Kleiner Perkins, when I talk to Deutsche Bank, and I send them links about economic development in Wilmington, that's what they get. And they're very excited and very happy because those two sites deliver a whole lot of relevant, competitive, aspirational content that puts us in a very good footing. And that's really all I had. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the boss here, Lloyd Smith, and take some questions.
Thank you, Tom.